Free trade is a big waste of time. It sounds very profound when economists, people who have studied economics alone and the kind of brain dead, like fantasies, they're excited about free trade. But in a practical way, free trade is just a waste of time. It's not something very efficient. Well, basically, what makes people think in terms of let the market decide which succeed and which don't succeed. And a lot of times you can't go by that. You can't let the market dictate things. Say it favors the person who has a lower comparative advantage. So that if we're making a car and in one country the overhead and cost is going to be $2 million, where in another country the overhead is going to be just $500. Of course, you could see already that that country with the lower overhead is going to score as far as the comparative advantage. And why the other country could have such a higher overhead is because they have laws that respect human rights and human dignity and labor, this and the whole 9 yards. The country that has the lower one, people are forced to work. There's no health care, there's no education, there's so many support transportation. They don't have high-tech equipment. And so you question whether the products that they're building, whether they're going to be comparative. I mean, yes, there's going to be a comparative advantage as far as outlaying resources, finance especially. But if one is going to be using robots and higher tech stuff like that, torque wrenches and so on, micrometers and so forth, computers, I don't think it's going to be the same product. But generally, people don't see that. They just look at the utility, and it seems as if both would have the same utility, and so they go for it. And so a country like, say, United States will find that they can't go by comparative advantage because if everything that is made in America were to be made overseas, you'll get it hundreds of times cheaper. So what you're going to do, close down the economy just because you'll get things cheaper on the other side? I think monetary policy and other policies would dictate that you're going to have to find a way that those cheaper products can't necessarily flood the market. Not even from a quality standpoint, but even from a kind of social justice and whole 9 yards. And so, as I said, an economist will see that way. When I was studying micro and macroeconomics in college, way back in the 80s, 82 or something like that. No, 83 or 84. There's a concept in the economic class that if the economic order of the world is not reversed, that some third world country is going to get nuclear arms and threaten the first world. And that came in the exam. And I feel that question because in the discussion class, I convinced the class and the teacher that that's not practical because the people who have nuclear now are the first world countries and they're not going to give it to a third world country. And the third world country will not have the means to deliver it to threaten themselves, to threaten the first world. And so it's almost 30 years, 30 years, over a long time, and it has not happened yet. It's not going to happen. The economic order of the world has not necessarily changed, but that economist guy, maybe he smoked something or whatever, come with that stupid concept. But when you have a broader approach and you look at economics, not only from a marketplace, but you look at the society, you look at how people are thinking, the type of quality of life that you have, and you thought the security of your country, the whole 9 yards, you can't go for that free trade thing, because trade with China and India and Latin America and Africa, I mean, Europe will fall significantly because they have laws guaranteeing a lot of things which in those other countries they aren't. So I believe that free trade is just a nice name, and people that are naive will be advancing it. But if you think in terms of justice totally, I think you'll have to set up barriers, whether it's going to be tariffs to make it competitive with, as far as the price is concerned, with those that are manufactured locally, or quotas or whatever else you're going to try, or straight out say we don't want your stuff. Let's go to war and don't sell nothing back here again. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, you got to protect your nation.